A very good afternoon to all the students, few of the faculty members. I can see CDC teams, staff members as well, and all those who are there online with us for this session. A very warm welcome to all of you. The Synergence 2022, 21-22, in fact, we are in 22, we started off in 21 itself, is the tagline. I must appreciate and explain that knowledge is the power. With this series, we are here with our entrepreneurs who are part of AIC Atal Incubation Center, Shivnada University. They have successfully created their venture, being with the AIC at SNU. So their stories will be quite inspiring for you. I have with me Anirudh Sharma, who was part of SNU as a student, where he created his venture while being in the hostel, thought it, I think he pivoted 4 times. We used to sit 3 years back, discuss his venture, what to be done, how to be done. And finally, he's a successful founder of a very interesting venture. I think I'll leave that on Anirudh to explain. The venture name is My Era. He's also been associated with Quadpi, which is still on. With me also is Kaushal. Kaushal has a very interesting journey. He owns a startup which could be very inspiring for all of you who are looking for self-employment. An entrepreneur's journey where he began his journey with venture, where he sell it off, like the venture was taken up in a very good amount by another company. He worked on another idea. He's there with us for a very good time, around 2+ years, and his venture is in a you can say an inspiring journey of crossing 1 CR annually, and more. I think he can describe how he's doing. He grew with us, the kind of partnership he holds, the kind of businesses he holds. He's part to many of prominent entities. He's also part to HCL Healthcare vendor. He's providing services to HCL Healthcare. He's providing services to various banks, ICICI, HDFC. He's also part to various government entities with his solution. So these two stories will definitely bring you the exposure, the kind of interaction you would like to have with a person who is starting off his journey as an entrepreneur when he was nothing. He worked on his idea, how he created that business. Today, he is a well-known name. They're just not sharing their story here, but in many colleges, many forums, many conferences and webinars where their stories are inspiring for students as well as people who would like to create their own venture. So let me begin with Anirudh. He started off his journey as a student. So Anirudh, how did you thought about being an entrepreneur, being a SNU student? Can you just highlight that point?
Sure. Thanks, Shiva. So it's pretty interesting. We've been here in the same hall as students, and we used to attend lectures over here in the first year. That was, I think, in 2013-14. In 2016, something interesting happened. I was here as a mechanical engineering student, and we were working on mechanical engineering projects. We were building cars. We built 2 cars here at SNU, and were involved in engineering projects. And then here at SNU, we started getting offers from Ola, Uber. So those 2 startups were, a great highlight for students, and getting to come here in Hadri, getting those cabs and offers and all those things. That actually triggered something. And I was lucky enough to have worked with great teams in those engineering projects. So one day, just randomly, we decided to sit at the cafeteria in the library, and we thought, why not take up something different, something which is away just from mechanical engineering projects. So that day, that discussion led to work me being registered, and then we took up multiple ideas. So yeah, just random discussions and great people working on different projects that led us to starting up. Shiva.
I think this is working. That's amazing. I think the students sitting here with us and online, I have just opened the, so there's a phone with me. You can put your questions. We can put these questions as and when they come up for these entrepreneurs. We are not putting it this as a session where they're giving just lectures or chat. So this is more about interaction where you can ask your questions, what and where you can do. So I think Anirudh's journey might have it definitely inspires more students to come up with more ventures here at SNU. I would like Kaushal to highlight how he created his first venture. That's very, very interesting. You must hear that.
First of all, thank you, Shiva, for having me here, inviting me to tell you everyone that about my startup journey. So I still remember that after MBA, I worked for 3 companies for 2 years. I resigned every time just to start my company. And after 2 years and educating myself that now I'm ready to start my journey, I finally started my first venture. It was an advertisement company, and we are providing a lead generation activities for all the kind of enterprise companies like WS Paint, Max Healthcare, and etc. And at that time, we realized that there is a huge gap between for the you can say the complete providing a complete call center solution, but over the cloud. Because we are seeing realizing this fact that if somebody want a business, want a set up a call center on a physical premises, they have to pay a very heavy amount of money, like you can say 20-30 lakh rupees as a capital infrastructure. And this is a very much bottleneck for them actually. And like India is the second largest BPO market in the world actually. And still the call center companies are facing huge cost, like in terms of cost, in terms of scalability, infrastructure. They have to wait for literally 2 months just to start their call center. They have to buy the the spaces premises actually. And so that's why we thought to start a second venture, which is the name is Colodesk. The brand name is Colodesk basically. So we are completely providing call center solution, but over the cloud. In just a 15 minutes of time, people can start and run their call center immediately over the cloud. And it's under a term of cloud telephony. So let me tell you especially about the cloud telephony. So cloud telephony is a term which you can say provides services for the users to track their all the incoming outgoing calls over the internet. So that's my journey basically. So we initially in the first years, 2 years, we spent our time to build the platform. But like every businesses, we learned many things and we failed actually. And then we again in third year we started our code or the development from the since this beginning of business starting from the scratch actually. And after the year we were ready to go to the market to crack some clients. We got one client which is a Go mechanic actually, and we took our check of around 25 lakh rupees. And immediately after 6 months, we launched our 5 branches in state level on pan-India basis. But it's the date of Feb 2020 actually. But unfortunately, again in March, pandemic came, and it's a quite a learning stage. But until October 2020, yes, we have to close the branches. But still, we are ready to refocus again to my venture actually. And then we took lots of losses at that time. But now, if you see after 1 year, you can say till December 2021, we have around turnover around 5 crore. We have clients of around 1,000 plus businesses, including SCL, Go Mechanic, IC Lombard, Max Hospital, Fuji Electronics, and numbers. We are tied with, we did so many studies tied with different organizations just to create a brand image for our company. We provided a freebie offering to all the, you can say, Startup India registered businesses, to NESCOM 10 startups, SIDBI, Niti Aayog, even Niti Aayog will also tied with us. And yes, with multiple AIC centers and Lucknow and etc. And right now we are here just to focusing on the international market.
That's amazing, Kaushal. I think one point definitely the students sitting here can learn, and there have been queries which do come up to me that as soon as they hear the word startup or venture creation, they have the assumption that they should get some funds. They should have money in their pockets before starting. So these are very successful startup founders. And by the way, I think they will also agree to this point that funding and investment is not the start to have a startup or being an entrepreneur yourself. They never got their startups funded by any of the entities till date. They also have been doing bootstrap and later reinvesting their income, whatever it was coming. It is well planned, strategized way of carrying out your ventures in future. So I think the students can definitely look into how a hostel room idea can turn into a big venture without anybody being asked to put in the money. I think Anirudh will tell his failure stories again, which would be very, very inspiring for students. That any venture, I think Kaushal already explained that failure is never the end of your idea. It always gives you a learning that what next could be done, how better it could be done. Anirudh, please explain that.
So yeah, it's a pretty interesting thought that having no money and then still deciding to start up. So when to be honest, when I signed up for this thing, when I started up, we had no idea what we were starting. We were signing up for, and we thought just after starting within a month or two, we were crores and crores of valuation was there, and we were just daydreaming. But then, so I started up when I was in the final year. We worked for a year, and we were like, okay, we were here as students, and that is I believe, a good hack to start up when you're a student because everything is paid for, and you can experiment much. So when I graduated, I had a job in hand, and we were forced to go out in the market and leave the nutshell. So that was when the reality struck, and we had to pay for petrol. We had to go around, buy our own snacks and things like that. So that was when something called as revenue model came up, and we had to think about it. Before that, we were not thinking about that. So I believe my journey has been more of discovery because I don't come from a business background, and I created my first balance sheet when I think we were 2 years into the operations, and I was like dancing. Okay, I created a balance sheet, and then I got to know that students in schools, commerce students, do that in 10th, 11th, or 12th standard. So that was when we realized, okay, there is a gap in the education system, and we these science and math students, we pretty proud about studying science and not thinking about commerce. So such small things, I believe. There's a lot of content available online. You can definitely learn from those things, and from the day one, if you can, then think about the revenue models. And it is always said that if you are using your customers' money, if you're getting paid for something, and then you are building something over that, that is a greater model than expecting someone to put in money and back you up, and then you build something. Because if you don't really have a lot of people backing you up in terms of monetary inflow, then you have to be right at a lot of things, and you can't just risk losing whatever money you have. So in that sense, I believe there are startups that require funding from day one. There are startups, but we've been bootstrapped, and I've been a big believer of building something that can get you revenues early on. So in that sense, I believe you won't really get a lot of money initially. You'll have to prove yourself, your startup, and then you can definitely have monetary aspects related to that as well.
That's another learning point which I can definitely highlight, that when you are actually an entrepreneur, the business, so let me just tell a blunt word, businessman, you have to definitely think through if you are selling something, who's buying it. There have been ideas which students definitely come up, and there have been people who come and say that this is something I have created, or this is a solution. But then when we ask them who's ready to buy it, they are not ready to accept this or go out and search and test their idea. So I think Anirudh and Kaushal's story will definitely give you that very important point which people do not consider important, but that's very important. Who's your buyer? Whom are you targeting? And then the intricacies of being an entrepreneur. There are times when students get attracted with stories of Flipkart, Snapdeal, Ola, but there are very few. Unicorns do happen, but there are lifestyle and normal businesses where, like you can see, Kaushal is earning 5 CR already. It's beyond 1 CR per annum. So there could be businesses who are just businesses and they're successful. We are beyond thinking of heavy investment. I agree to Anirudh, there are startups who definitely need investment, product-based, research-based. There are grants who can support that. But then there are ideas which you can definitely start thinking. Do the experiment, fail, and come back again? I think Kaushal will highlight this more.
Just to add regarding this question, that whether we go for bootstrap or as a whether we focus on fund to start a business. So let me tell you about the situation which we have 3 years back actually. In this, we have a situation where either in one side we have the product ready and we go to the market to crack some clients to get some initial money as a seed fund, or either we focus our plan just to spend our time to make the pitch ready, make the Excel sheet so that we can we have to get some seed fund from different VC funds. So we choose the first one actually. When we went to the market, we showcase our product actually, so that we can get some seed fund. Like I told you about the Go Mechanic actually, and basically our idea is to myself actually like what kind of businessman I am if I need a seed fund from any other one just to start my business, right? I have to build the product first. I have to sell the product first, and then if I need the money, then I have to go to the market just to get the fund, Series A fund or Series B fund. So this is the basically the thought actually.
Kaushal, can you highlight the importance of team and team management? Because you are also two co-founders. Anirudh also has a co-founder sitting in the audience. So what is the importance of having a co-founder and the mix of importance of having the team right equation and right qualification?
So, okay. So the qualification is pretty much simple. Like if you have two, in any case, whether it's a husband and wife or a co-founder and brother and sister, actually. So rather than thinking that what the other person is giving, just focus on what you are giving to them. Right? This is the major thing. If you are the kind of, you can say, studious or well prepared, or you have the good positive vibes for your different, the other co-founders, then I guess that is the much needed for everyone. Second, for the team, you have to treat the persons how you need to be treated actually. So we like I told you that I worked for 3 companies for last 2 years. So I know the pain actually. I know the struggle actually in the sales market actually, and so that's the reason that we have to build a team. So just like a brother and sisters.
So before moving to Anirudh, I'll just give a follow-up question to you. Is it to have a single founder team, or what is the benefit of having another founder with you?
So if you are going to start a business like today or tomorrow on later days, you have to be 2 founders at least. One is from the different area, like for example, I am basic from the sales strategy and growth side, and I'm handling all kind of services except the technical part. And my other co-founder is from the technical side. He is having around of 25 years of experience actually, and he's handling all the tech part. I have to go to the market, analyze the market pattern, make the strategy, make the sales, and if I need to develop something into the product, I have to deliver to the to my team member just so that they can he can develop the product actually.
Great, great. I think this will be very, very important for students who are looking to create their own ventures, who are from management or engineering. Just definitely go for a co-founder and do that matchmaking. Even you can come down to us. We do organize sessions on that. Anirudh, what are your thoughts on this?
Sure. I might take some time answering this question. So as I said, my story has been more of discovery. So when we started, it was like, okay, it was just like planning a trip. And it was like, okay, you also come. And it was like, we have $1 billion idea and we would be, we billionaires, would you want to join us? And I clearly remember writing a welcome text on my friends group, and it was like, okay, I'm working on an idea. I can't disclose that, would you want to be my co-founder? And my friends were like, what is the idea? You're not telling us what you're working on, and you're expecting us to join and bet our careers on that. So so definitely, so one takeaway is don't do that. You'll have to. So this is something that happens with first time founders, and we've been there, done that. That we kind of we tend to be pretty possessive about the idea, and we don't feel like disclosing it, and it'll be like okay, this is the idea that someone stole. But things don't happen that way. Ideas, I believe, are less than 10% of the whole startup. It is all about how you execute and how far you go together. So the textbook answer is you would need people who complement your skills. And in our case, it has been like people who stay. So when we started, we were a team of 4 people, and then one person left, and then the other person left. It was like too much of hustle for someone. It was maybe not working well as per the career plan or roadmap for some people. And then we kept on pivoting. So one primary skill I believe would be skill or the mindset. I would say you should at least be aligned in terms of your vision. And because if the other person is just with you because you have a great idea, it is going to be a dicey scene because your ideas can and will change, and you'll be pursuing different things. So you should be, as you also mentioned, I think in the last talk he said it is more like a marriage, and so definitely starting up with one partner is fine, and then it goes bigger than that. It's no longer a marriage. You can definitely have more co-founders. So we currently have we are a team of 4 co-founders. So right now, since we're working on a tech product, we definitely needed a CTO. And today, if you're building something related to tech, and I'm sure Kaushal will agree, there are massive packages out there for computer science students and something of that sort. So you can't just have a lot of money. And I think the previous question was around that. You can't just pump in a lot of money and hire great people. You would need people who can actually be there and have their skin in the game. So that is how you bring in co-founders who are willing to take that risk with you.
I think with this, this is again a very interesting point that co-founder play a very important role. I just sum up what they mentioned: stability, matching, complement each other, and definitely a person there to help you out when you are not. There are times when you don't know if you're right or wrong. The other co-founder should be complementing each other. That you are wrong, he should be able to say that yes, you are wrong. This is right. So it's exactly the way spouses and matches happen. So you have to be very careful, like you choose your life partner who could be your co-founders. And definitely the journey of a startup depends on who else you can join hands with. You can't pay them, but definitely can make them a part of your journey who are ready to like put their extra effort the way you are doing it. With this point, I think Anirudh mentioned very interesting that people come up and say, I do not want to disclose the idea. So if in case you are thinking of the similar lines, that's another myth which founders hold, that if the idea is discussed, it will be stolen. If your idea is so weak that if somebody hears it out and steal it away, please don't work on that. It's not worth giving your time. You are the execution, like you are executing, thinking about it, and somebody who hears it out and works on it and he succeeds, that means there was a severe issue with the idea. You can, like, nobody can execute the way you are thinking. So please go and discuss your idea. That will make so many flaws upfront on you. People will say if I'm ready to buy it or not. Definitely. Nobody's going to ask you if you're in a research idea, what is the algorithm you're working on, or what is the basis of your research on this. That's definitely nobody can steal off. That's you who have to do it. In that detail, no investor goes in so much of details unless he's in really like the tech due diligence, or say a depth in the understanding of your research idea has to be done. So I think that also should be clear with people who are willing to start off their startup journey. How to hire competent teams, I think that has been addressed by Kaushal and Anirudh. They have been struggling to get right kind of people and right kind of journeys with them. I would like, again, Kaushal, what would you suggest if somebody is willing to start with like we have the audience of mainly students who are working on some idea or the other or are in their placement seasons. What could be your advice for them to work on their startup journey or plan that out?
Okay, so advice, right? So, okay. So the first thing is, if you're going to start a business just to famous, to make some hype again, in front of your family or friends, please don't do this. Please don't waste your time and money and to the world actually. The second is if you're going to start a business and you are thinking that it's a quick reach type of thing, right? So that in one day you will buy a lottery ticket and in the next day you will get that lottery actually. So it can't be happen actually. It's literally a roller coaster ride, like we used to listen in the videos or in the books actually, because you have to face lot of struggle and pain in this journey basically. So just give you an example, like I told you about the pandemic, we successfully succeeded with the, you can say, the note bandi, the GST regulation. We successfully succeeded with the some taxation rules actually, the legal things regarding the designing part, regarding the market analysis part, regarding the product enhancement part, and it takes a lot of effort actually. So literally, you can say since last 5 years, my average sleeping time is 3 to 4 a.m. basically, and even yesterday only my go to bed time is 6:30 a.m. So it's not an easy task. So if you are going to start a business in serious way, so you have to be a, you can say, risk taker. You have to a strong believer about your product. You have to focus on what you are going to build. You have to avoid the the speaks which is in your behind that you can't do anything, or there's so many companies in the market. Just focus on your goal actually. So that is the thing. If you are ready with this, then you can start your business. Otherwise, please, I suggest just to save your time and money, and that's it.
Amazing, amazing, Kaushal. Anirudh, would you like to add some more points to this? You have been a student and now sitting here as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So what was the question again?
So,
Sorry.
what tips or quick guidance would you like to give for students who are going for placement and they're thinking about their startup idea because you have faced the same situation?
Sure.
What should they take away from your story?
Sure. So I was in a situation wherein I had to go for placements and I still want to start up. So it is difficult for students to take that call, I believe, when especially their final years, that they should give their jobs up or the opportunity, like maybe some interviews. So I believe it is actually really difficult to take that call. My opinion would be that if they're really looking up, as Kaushal mentioned, they can't just sign up for that kind of fame or money simply. Uh, Wanting to succeed financially and uh, then doing a business, that is still fine, I believe. So starting up would not mean that you would get financial returns immediately. So if a person is in that situation and they really need the money immediately, and there are people who would want to support their families immediately. So in that sense, I believe it is a fair call if they go ahead with the jobs. And this is, I think, this is not the usual me saying that go ahead for a job. I've actually had a few friends resigning from their jobs, but it is okay to take up those responsibilities, and whenever they feel comfortable enough to maybe take that kind of risk, because it is a huge risk and you can't just deny that, they should start up. And having said that, I would say you should start early on. You can't just wait for. I know it might contradict, but the sooner you start, you are you'll be in a comfortable spot. You'll have lesser number of responsibilities. You will have responsibilities even when you're graduating, but even today, I've seen when we were starting up for the first time, we had the responsibility of proving ourselves in that sense. But then today the responsibilities are different, and 3 years from now or 5 years from now, they'll be completely different, and that scares me sometimes. But so in that sense, if you have more time in your hand to experiment, you should definitely go ahead.
I think that's very valid point, that running away from the responsibilities is like venture itself is a big responsibility. And there could be a very interesting point which you can definitely take, that if you want to start a venture in a particular field, definitely go and work with such company for a while. That will give you a very interesting insight which nobody in the world can give you. And if you want to start a startup, definitely go and work with a startup. Learn and see the pains the founders go through. I think interns who worked with Anirudh, Kaushal, understand the depth of the responsibilities a small team within a startup holds. You're responsible for every damn thing. If a single client, a simple client, you can't reach out, how difficult that situation might be for that startup in that particular month. So that's very interesting. Anirudh and Kaushal, both of you are running a tech startup. And would you like to, like Anirudh just completed one of the patents to their tech startup. There are so many researchers and students who must be doing some research projects, and they would like to turn that idea into a entrepreneur venture. What would your take on that would be, and how they can go about it? What were your initial steps to convert that?
Sure. So my journey has been more inclined towards the Startup India scheme and exploring how the government could help me directly. But before I talk about that, I would like to highlight that I'm aware that here, at least at Shiv Nadar University, the university is also pretty active in terms of supporting students if they're really looking for such kind of maybe IPR support and things like that. So, and I am aware of a few people who have actually successfully patented their ideas, maybe with their faculty or their fellow researchers. So, in that sense, SNU is there to support you. If you don't want to go through that route, you can definitely start off with your venture, get your idea, get your startup recognized under the Startup India scheme, and then the government is. So when I filed for a patent, I did not pay anything for the professional fee. The government paid for it, and that is how I was able to afford a pretty good agency, a pretty good firm who could file a proper application for me. And the government, in that sense, the policy is such that they are really willing to support startups. They are giving just 50% straightforward discount on filing fee, and then they're not expecting you to pay the professional fee. Also, they're letting you expedite the process. So in that sense, I believe it was more about what the idea was when I was filing the patent, and the rest was taken care of. So it is pretty straightforward. People can just Google and find these things, and if they're not able to, I'll be happy to help.
Thanks, Anirudh. Yeah, Kaushal, how did you start your tech venture? Any tips on students who are willing to work on their tech venture?
Okay. So let me tell you about the startup owner side. Like if somebody is going to start your business, right? So first you have to choose the industry which you are keen to go for it actually, who you are ready to invest your day and night just to develop your product and services. And then you have to check all the government documentation and rules and try to find a gap in which you can enter in the market. And third, you have to check what is the product in that your particular industry. Like in tech, like in my side, there is a cloud equal. What is the product which you can sell it on a mass scale? Like for example, right now just I'm seeing this. This is a Bizarre portal and there is a helpline number in this. So one of our product is providing a cloud phone number. And as per government rules, in every labeling, whether it's a manufacturing or whether it's a sales and a suit or clothing system, you have to mention your toll-free number or helpline number. This is a government regulation. So it's a mass need actually, right? And similarly, last 6 months back only, there's one new rule came up from the government side where all the online sellers have to mention the 24/7 customer support number, right? For all the stock market agencies have to buy the toll-free number. Last year, Odisha government have made mandatory for all the private and government organization hospitals to book provide a COVID-19 helpline number actually. So that is the demand you have to check with particularly with your industry, and then you can develop a small product develop in with your team within your team. Then go to the market in the market to analyze the thing, and then you can sell that what is the patent technology or like we discussed that which is favorable for you in coming years. Whether the product is scalable in terms of only for India or for the international level. Like for example, we also have a patent applied product, which is kind of location-based services. It's yet to approve from the government authority. Where if I will call to Shiva, then I will get the location of the Shiva. So you can say the Truecaller is providing only the name. We going to provide the location. So think the use case where I can tell to Zomato or Swiggy to install my SDK, the configuration, and whenever I will call to order the Swiggy, he knows exactly where I am sitting and what is the order I need to give, right? So this is everything is a try and tested thing, right? You have to go to the market, you choose your industry, you have to find out what is the product which you can sell in the market in mass scale purpose, and then you can develop your product. Like for example, in cloud call center, people usually think that toll-free number in cloud call center is a common thing, but it's literally not, because in cloud call center there's huge backend structure which you have to be ready. So right now we are basically fighting with operators. We are fighting with we have the computers which have 1,000 crore of funding in front of them, and still they do not have some kind of license which we have already procured actually. And we also are going to do some agreement today actually, and in the evening with Tata and different operators to provide the services which is not provided by the other competitors actually. So my suggestion is before the patent or for technology part, you have to focus on what you are going to build, then go to market and try industry.
Thanks. I think these tips are amazing. I'll just sum up what exactly what they trying to mention. So you need to work on your if you're working on a research idea, definitely work on it. See the viability, who will be using it if you want to turn it into a commercial usage. And I think the way if you will go and check their viability and uniqueness, you will definitely go for a patent. Patent itself is a trademark, that's a stamp that if the patent is allowed, that it's a unique solution. And if you have a patented product, the journey does you are not assured of that it will be a successful thing. Like Kaushal said, you need to go out and test it. Who is going to use it? Where you're going to apply it? The innovativeness of this idea is very, very important. Even if it's a research finding, that where and what you will be the use case of that. For say we as an entrepreneur or incubators use a term proof of concept. After your patent is done, you need to get the proof of people who are ready to buy it. Some industry, some if you're for example, if your solution is for a bank, then at least you should have a bank using a technology, maybe a paid one or an unpaid service, but they vetted that your technology can be used at a bank. So definitely to secure a technology, you need to go for a patenting process. I think Government of India is helping a lot to entrepreneurs. There are other grants and schemes and funds also available with various institutions. You can come down to AIC also, get the information. We do provide that information where and what kind of grants and research backed funding is happening. You can go for a direct application. You don't need anybody's approval or any backing. You can just go and apply it. There are immense funding available to work on your research idea, go for a patent and then test their viability. So Anirudh, Kaushal, I think this is also very important, that what was that important business incidents or your interesting client story? I think that is also gives you a lot of learning, which you would like to share. Maybe any of your client who would you like to highlight that working with them made you change so many things, and that was a landmark in your business.
Sure. Thanks for asking. I think I'm yet to tell what I generally do. I've been preaching and I haven't properly introduced my business yet. Again, it has been discoveries and discoveries. We started with an idea which was into education domain. And then, as I said, we were forced to get out in the market and interact with our prospective clients or users or whatever it was. So we got that kind of feedback from users in the education domain that what we were building was not uh, expected out there in the market, and people were not really ready to pay for that. So we decided to pivot. Pivot is basically you steer. When you see a wall, you don't run into it. You steer and change a few things and adjust yourself or the business. So when we were into the education domain, we were directly targeting parents for home tutors and stuff. And then we pivoted. We started working with schools. We thought we would be so we were targeting rote learning practices, and we were doing experiential learning sessions physically. So the feedback was good in terms of the students liking it, but they were not the parties who would be paying for it. It was the school. And then we tried working it out, and then the feedback was coming in. We tried to bring in some sponsors. We were doing this in Jaipur, and Swiggy had just launched. So we met the marketing managers over there. They were like, school audience is not our target group, but we can still experiment something. And we were like, okay, let us experiment. Don't pay us anything. We'll just take some codes and we'll see. And you can definitely track the code redemption. So that happened, and we got some redemptions, and they were also surprised. They were like, okay, we were working on QuarkMe then, and they were like, okay, we would want to experiment with QuarkMe, and we did more sessions, and we got more and more, users on board through QuarkMe. So at that point, we realized, okay, we are doing something for students, we are doing something for schools, but Swiggy is paying us. So we said we are listening to students, we have been listening to schools. Now let us try to listen to what Swiggy has to say. And we went there. We were like, okay, this is a fair deal. This is a small ticket size. We would want to do something bigger. And what do you want us to do? And at that point, I think it was in mid 2018. We had been into 2 years into the business, and we were like, okay, we've tried everything. Now let us start listening to what others are saying, especially people who are ready to pay. So Swiggy told us, okay, you're doing good. We are now launching in Jodhpur. Can you do something about it? And at that point of time, Swiggy was the only party who was really interested in doing business with us, and they were willing to pay us, and they had the paying capacity also. As Kaushal was saying, you have to take care of the market opportunity also. So next day, I went to Jodhpur, and luckily I had some relatives over there. I was roaming around, I was meeting people. Okay, I was kind of representing Swiggy, and I was offering a whole lot of things to other people. Tell me what are your offerings, how can we collaborate, how could we do branding for Swiggy. And then after 2-3 days, I went back to Swiggy team, and even before they went to Jodhpur, I had gone there and done some research, and they said, okay, we'd like to sponsor these 3-4 events. And suddenly I had business in my hand. So in that sense, Swiggy, especially Swiggy, the Rajasthan team, and then the Gujarat team, the central team, we got internal referrals. We were doing something that they were liking, and we were evolving as a marketing agency suddenly. And instead of uh, a startup that was into education, we pivoted, and we were like, okay, we are liking it. We are scaling up with Swiggy. Why not completely focus here? And that is how we evolved. That was our third pivot, and we got good business from Swiggy Rajasthan, and then Gujarat. Then some people referred us to the central team. We touched 15 plus states with Swiggy itself, and I remember the manager telling me, "Don't focus on other clients. I'll give you enough business. Just do whatever I want," because they had their targets, and we were trying to fulfill those requirements. So that way, Swiggy helped QuarkMe evolve a lot, and we did a lot of different things which we never thought when we were starting. We did offline activations. We were running here and there. We were working with influencers. Certainly, we were dealing with advertisement agencies. We started creating content for them. Things which we would not do generally. Which you can't really imagine. We did all those things. So that way, if there's a client and if the client is ready to pay, has good paying capacity also, it is always good to listen to what the client has to say, and you can definitely evolve in that sense. So yeah, Kaushik.
So I have a lot of stories to tell actually, but still, let me give you one to the biggest story which I feel is the good. So like I told you, like in last year, we went into the survival mode where we shut it down 5 branches actually. At that time, we are thinking that either we reduce our technical support setup, the servers, everything, or either we will spend the money just to waste the money just to maintain that setup. So we with my partner actually, we thought to go for the second option. We thought that just let not reduce the setup so that we have to look forward actually. So we made a plan to give a freebie offering to all the startups, right? So at least waste जाएगा भी तो कोई बात नहीं किसी को बना हो जाएगा. So we tied with Startup India actually. So in the Startup India portal, if you see, this is the biggest B2B platform for all the India startups, providing a lot of freebie offering for like in terms of patent or copyright, trademark, etc. So we tie with them. We list our product in the Startup India portal so that if somebody want to register in the portal, they get a 6-month free service from us. So on the first month, it's free. We dedicated to onboard all the sign up, but without money. In the second month, the same thing happened. In the third month, same thing happened. In the fourth month, we get the automatically we get the SMS credit of amount 15,000 rupees, and then 50,000 rupees, and then 1 lakh rupees. Now the idea works actually. So even in the pandemic, if we are selling into the market, even the free services, then we get the money in return. You can say it's a give and gain policy actually, because they like the product. So after 6 months, they are going to renew our product. Then the second story is, so this is the first story, which I think this is a perfect example of taking a risk actually. And the second biggest story is a smart work. So now we are a company who's already tied with Startup India. Now we went to Nescom, which is into BPO. We told them that, see, Startup India is already aligned with us. So just take us on board. We want to provide a freebie offering to all the Nescom tech products. So they are ready. So we published on Nescom. Now we have 2 companies. We went to SIDBI. We told them that yes, Startup India Nescom is there. They are bidding on us. Please list us. So now in next month only, let me tell you, it's a 6-month integration actually. Next month only, SIDBI is going to launch our biggest, you can say, mother of MSME portal, where they are going to provide. We are going to provide all the MSME companies, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's small business or large business, they all are going to get a mail from our side to provide freebie offering for from Codesk side. So similar way, we went to Niti Aayog, we showed our product, and same way, right now in total all the different organizations, we are providing literally 1 crore startups our freebie offering. So you can see the amount of smart work which we did to penetrate in the market, to fight with all the, you can say, operators or the big funded companies, to let them think that yes, we are a bootstrap company, but still we are growing without any external fund. So this is the second smart way which we think. And yes, and third and last, which look like a odd, but pandemic is took a lot of positive things in our business side, because in the pandemic, people now started realizing the making a BCP plan. In our terms, we are calling it as a business continuity planning. So more they are thinking, because of pandemic, they are more thinking about BCP plan. They are more thinking about remote working, to hire the remote work. And the more they are thinking about the remote work, the more they are going to get the call center software, but over the cloud, which is you can say replica of physical call center solution, or you can say just to the physical call center is a traditional model, but we are providing an app as a modernized version. So this is the thing which I think the 3 stories which is which I can tell you. And yes, apart from this, like in pandemic, we met HCL officials because in the pandemic this lockdown is there and agents are facing issue to go to the call center area, the premises. So that's why we showed them our product, And right now, on pan India basis, all the SCL employees are sitting on our platform, using our platform day and night. Even if you can enter in the SCL office, you have to scan a barcode, and then after the filling the form, you will get a number which is provided by us. If you visit the SCL website, there is a helpline, toll-free helpline number for all global kind of helpline, help solutions that is provided by us. And yes, we are providing multiple call center switches in SCL. In the same way, the other success story is ICICI Lombard. Right now, we are authorized vendor of ICICI Lombard. All the promotional transactional SMSs, whether it's kind of general insurance, health, motor insurance, everything is sending from our side. Even if you travel in the train, so in the IRCTC, you will get a message of 50 paisa insurance. So that is time with the ICICI Lombard, and we are sending it to ICICI Lombard. And thankfully, last month only Bharti Exa was acquired by ICICI Lombard, so we already got another customer in hand. So there are a lot of stories which I can tell, but I guess there are some few points where you can see you have to. There is some certain situation where you have to decide whether you want to go from either this way or this way. So and I suggest you have to focus on the look and to see look forward always, so that this is the reason why we started actually. So that's it.
That's amazing. I think Anirudh very well explained how important it is to test your capabilities going against, like, moving towards odds. Moving towards odd, testing yourself that let's try it, let's do it. And how important it is to look into opportunities and looking into businesses where you definitely need some money to survive and go ahead. I think unless you experiment, so the way I was telling about proof of concept, so you have to go for businesses or projects or deals where you might not be getting the return, but you will be getting a case, a use case of your solution. So that's very important. Kaushal's story definitely tells that how you can penetrate into the market by making people used to about your unique solution. So if Kaushal's solution was not unique and was offering the right services, he could not have got that offer. So you need to go and test yourself. Challenges make you more strong. So Anirudh, would you like to tell something where your team had to sit and just change everything, or that was the most difficult point of your venture, and you had a really great, like, difficult to move from this, the way he said that you need to make a choice of two, where what incident could you just describe that?
Sure. I believe a startup journey is all about accelerating, steering, and then repositioning yourself, hiring different people. There'll be people moving out of your company. There'll be people coming in. So the change actually literally is the only constant in startups. So the most difficult point I believe was when, as I said, we were doing great with Swiggy. We were working with big brands. We worked with Swiggy. We worked with Dunzo. We also did a pilot with Urban Company, Urban Clap at that point of time. So such big brands, Traction brand, our own brand, and then suddenly lockdown happened. So for first time entrepreneur, you see profitability for the first time. 2019 was we crossed the break-even point, and then we were like, okay, challenging ourselves. ठीक है, इस month इतना revenue, next month we'll increase it by this, and that was happening. So we kind of felt we were doing that, but obviously we were working hard. We still are. We have always been, but there are external factors also, the market. So the market changed suddenly in 2020. While we were closing the financial year, expecting to maybe touch 1 CR in revenues for the first time, when we had just 3 lakhs in revenues in the previous year, that was a huge jump. But then from the beginning itself in 2020, things started going here and there. Swiggy suddenly started focusing towards online marketing instead of offline. And then while we were adjusting to that change, the lockdown happened, and we had, I guess, 22 cities ka project, for which we already had a purchase order, and then that was called off. So at that point, we were like, okay, this is surprising. This doesn't happen generally. So and suddenly all offline campaigns were called off, and from profitability to 6 months of no revenues. That was something different. When we were not into revenues and when things were going bad, we were like, okay, that is usual. But when you're doing good and then suddenly something goes down, you're like, okay, I thought I had everything figured. Now I don't have everything figured. So that happened, and at that point, we were actually forced to, think about different things, experiment a lot of different things, so that we could survive. And as Kaushal has been mentioning, that 2020, I believe, has been a year for almost every business to just figure out how to survive and adjust. So we started offering different kinds of services to people, and when the first lockdown happened, even the clients were figuring out what to do, where to invest, should there be marketing. There were clients who had to shut down their operations also uh, for a smaller duration also, but then they started experimenting different tools and they started getting returns, so they did not want to go back to the previous approaches. So it was a difficult time, and over 6 months we kind of pivoted, we kind of diversified actually, and started offering online marketing services, which we thought we would not because that was too crowded. But when you have to survive, you have to be okay with things which you were not okay with. So we started offering social media marketing services. We were new in that domain suddenly. And again, as you said, we were not charging that kind of premium which we were able to when we were offering offline services where we were experienced. So that happened, and since we had a lot of time to sit and think, suddenly we finally thought, okay, we've been into startups and we don't have the scalability part figured out. Now that the world has given us some time to think about things, let us think about scalability again. And once we realized there are pain points everywhere actually, and that is a good way to look at startups. You can pick up any pain point and try to solve it out. If you have a good market size and if you are able to solve it, you have a good startup. So we thought, okay, let us pick up some pain points from social media marketing, because people were shifting to online marketing. There were offline businesses who never dreamt of, who never agreed to go online, and they were forced to go online. So we thought this is also an emerging market, and not everyone can afford an agency like us also, because we were working with bigger brands, so we had that kind of pricing also. So we picked up a pain point and we thought of automating what we were doing in the social media marketing space, and then that was when MyEra was born under Quarkme itself as an R&D project. And 6 months into that, we decided to take up MyEra as the primary thing and as the primary startup. And Quarkme actually passed on the baton to MyEra, and we're now full time working on all the co-founders. Apart from that, we had two more co-founders coming in, and then MyEra. That is how MyEra was born. And today, just to help the audience understand, MyEra is an AI-powered marketing assistant that generates marketing creators, social media marketing creators in real time in just a matter of few clicks, and it gives you a number of options. So at that point of time, we were manually creating those creatives, doing a lot of to and fro with the clients, getting approvals for those creatives. That was a pain point for us and for the clients also. That is something that we've been trying to automate. So in that sense, we've had that kind of validation already because we were doing that manually. Now we're trying to do that, using tech. And I still can openly say we are completely open to pivots. And let us say tomorrow our clients ask us to maybe offer something different, or maybe change MyEra altogether, we'll be completely open to that we just want to solve pain points that actually matter.
I think that definitely highlights that everything or every business needs to be flexible as the market requires. Challenges bring out the best out of you, and you have to believe that nothing is constant, and whatever is happening will bring out something good out of it. So, Kaushal, would you like to highlight one of your difficult situations in your business which brought some great changes, or would you like to describe that story?
Every day, actually. Like in the starting, in the first year, we took losses of around 20 lakh because we are, because of lack of knowledge about the legal documentation. In the second year, we get sued by one employee. You can say people usually say it's an employment honor harassment, but we are calling it as an employee harassment because we realize that the same guy is already opened one new company with a different name and selling our services. So this is the second thing which we learned. So we got some employee-employer agreement in place. And the third one is I'm like because of MBA. I always, focus on to, setting up all my documentation from the taxation part. But still, because of one completed complaint, we got the GST raid, literally GST raid, like in the movie, in our office. But 99% documentation was completed. So, but yes, the case was closed and runs to around 3 years actually, because they want, frankly speaking, they want the money because, and we don't want to give the money because we have the papers. And that time we learned that no matter how many, how much smooth you are in documentation, it's in India actually. So now my documentation are not 99% complete. It's even 75% because ultimately जो solve होगा वो होगा under the table. So it's, this is the learning actually. And yes, market can change suddenly. For example, either because of Notebandi, so obviously all the businesses took losses, either because of global pandemics like flood or like COVID-19, things will change drastically. Like for example, either because pandemic is the biggest change maker in the world, so now people are replicate to tech side and to remote working actually. So yes, these are the things.
I think Kaushal validates that nothing could be perfect. You need to be really ready for the uncertainties happening anytime, any day with your businesses. So Kaushal and Anirudh, both of you, can you highlight the importance of vision and mission or planning in your business? That how far you definitely need to be flexible, you definitely need to be little open for uncertainties and changes, but I do find like there need to be a base of planning for taking up anything ahead. And how important was for your business to think it more like a in a business perspective? Definitely, what Anirudh said, revenue model. Money is very important to your business. Unless there is a buyer or somebody ready to pay, it doesn't work. So Anirudh, where do you think would this concept of mission, vision, planning, or strategic words and jargons used, how important are they, and where do you need to make a heuristic, or you can say something which is more about the gut feeling, come into the play and be flexible?
Sure. So as I said, we were too involved in the marketing process before the pandemic hit, and we were just focusing on operations and sales and executing the campaigns which we were. So when the lockdown happened, as I said, we had some time, so we got some opportunities to revisit things which we always wanted to, but we could not really focus on. So I think in mid 2020 we took this thing up and we decided to frame our statements and sit and brainstorm upon what our visions have been and how they are expected to also be adjusted. So in that sense, the vision that the core team had, maybe when we were working at QuarkMe, we had this kind of inclination towards solving the marketing pain points of businesses and on a global scale, which we were not able to when we were doing offline marketing, and which I believe we've not been able to achieve when we were working on QuarkMe. But that kind of got transferred here at MyEra, and now that we have that kind of technology in place and whatever we're building, now we're looking at the global scene. So you might be working. So I think I said this in the previous talk also, that you are planning to reach somewhere, and that is your vision. But how you reach there keeps on changing, and you need to be open to that. You can't just say this is the only way and this is what we have decided. This is what we have planned. definitely planning is required. Otherwise, you might end up somewhere else. But so the path keeps on changing. Even the startups, in our case, the startups have changed, and I still feel the addressing the global marketing pain points is something that we've been looking at for quite some time now, and we're still on that target only.
Kaushal, would you like to highlight some points on this?
So my answer is a little bit different actually. So from my side, vision goals are depending on the business, the circumstances of the person actually. But let me give you one example actually, which I learned in the past and from the market basically. Basically, it's a quote actually. The problem of a small business is they think like that they are small. So whenever you are going to start a business, don't think that you are a small running a small company, and the bigger players are in the upper hand, and you can't reach there. Just focus that you have the capability to fight with all the big brands, or you can sit with the owner of a large organization. There is no harm to or वो आपको खा नहीं जाएगा just to crack a sale, right? So if you are looking for a sale with a big company, you have to contact with them just simply by email or phone. Sit with them and tell them that this is the solution and this is the price and this is the feature which you are providing and this is the unique vision or goals you have, and try our services. That's it. So this is the first thing which I prefer. Second, like I told you that before start, you have to focus your key interest area, the market, the industry, the government rules, regulations, and then you start. And the product should be on mass scale, whether you are into B2C or B2B. Like we are into B2B, B2B is hard than B2C. There are less users than B2C, but still we are penetrating the market. Like I told you that in India we approached them. We told them that there are 59 incubator centers in India, including AICSNU, and in all the incubator centers there are hundred of startup companies are there. So let us list with Niti Aayog, and please share our mails to all the startup incubator centers, and so that they can tie with us, and further they can provide the services to all the startups. So you have to focus on the key strategies. So basically, the vision is pretty much clear, which you have to build according to your business. The main point is the product should be on mass scale. The product should be scalable on Indian or international level, and you have to be flexible in every day, every single moment. Like literally, sometime we got a rule. I got information someone that the rule has changed, and the second phone I started selling that product actually with the kind of changes which happen in the government side. So this is the thing, because the vision goals are different for different persons or the organizations or the product, but you have to change it according to your plan.
I think that's very important, that every business needs to think what next, and where you have to go, like reach. Your focus and aim should be very, very clear, and just sit down. Like this could not be the stoppage what Kaushal and Anirudh did, that you need to think what next, where you have to reach. No matter how you have to reach is a different story, but where you have to reach should be always clear. I think with this, I would be happy if a few questions can come up. That could be addressed, and this will be more interactive with Anirudh and Kaushal.
I have a question. Thank you so much. I think everybody can hear me. Thank you so much for being part of Synergence. When we talk about startup, the first thing that comes to my mind is the pitch, right? So I would want you to share with us the experience that you had while you were delivering your first pitch. And did you go ahead and change while you saw your audience, what was going on in your mind? You went prepared with one pitch, and when you heard everyone else, did you go ahead and change your pitch?
Thanks. So I don't remember when and where my first pitch was, because we were pitching daily in front of different people. But I guess what I remember is the first time I went in front of investors, potential investors, that was in Jaipur. And that was the first proper pitch that we did. And that was, I think, after 2+ years into the business. And by that time, we were into revenues, we were working with Swiggy. So I think by that time we had a lot of versions of the pitch deck that we had. We had revised a lot of versions. So in that sense, I kind of knew what was the activity, what was the process of pitching, but at that point, I felt we were into revenues. For a startup to be in revenues and for a startup to have clients like Swiggy, it was a massive thing. And I believe some of the investors, when I still get back to them and try to reach out for something, I do write that we were the Swiggy only startup and things like that. So the scene was slightly different, and luckily I had that pitch recorded, and I could go back and understand what these people were saying. So one of the biggest points, one of the biggest takeaways was, one of the investors said that maybe this is a great opportunity, and maybe he literally said 1 crore, 1.5 crore, 2 crore ki opportunity hai, but what was that? And at that point of time, I think we had just tapped in 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs, something of that sort. So it was still a big opportunity for me to look at, and we still continue to make the best out of that opportunity. But today it makes all the sense to me, because we were into services, and they were asking me literally, how would you replicate the model? And I was telling them that in this city we are doing this campaign, and a similar campaign we are replicating in another city. That way we are scaling up. That way we were scaling up, but the kind of scale that is expected out of a startup, we could not have done that. So I had read about services not being that scalable, but I later realized how difficult it could be scaling up services. So that was one of the points. Also, one of the investors gave us a good tagline, and we used that in our marketing post, that pitch. So they told us, why are you working with Swiggy and why not with smaller brands? We said Swiggy has already done the kind of marketing and the brand building process for us, and it is easier for us to sell them because people recognize that brand. So the investor said, he was from Indian Angel Network. He was a good investor. I don't remember his name though. So he said, okay, you are a startup that helps businesses go from 90 to 99. And I felt, okay, that's a good input. I'll take that away from here. So that way it was, I was pretty open to feedback there also, I believe. And since we got the recording also, we could sit back and analyze what went wrong there. They appreciated the idea, but it's just there's a slight difference between a business and a startup. It was a good business what we were doing. It was not a great startup because we could not have scaled that up. So that is something that we understood after that pitch. So yeah, that was my experience.
Kaushal, would you like to add?
So it's about selling pitch or the investor pitch?
Neha?
Any pitch. It's about selling, yeah, maybe.
Okay. It's
No, investor pitch. I think that is better.
investor pitch, right? So, okay. First of all, like in last year only, we thought to get the investment fund. So we never thought about to go to the investment for the investment in our company, because like traditionally I'm a Bariya, so I don't want to sell a cheap actually, especially in terms of business actually. So, but yes, in the pitch, I'm very poor in making the pitch deck or something. Even in people used to say that it should be in 30 seconds or in one liner. But in initial days, I still remember there's a huge number of lines with all the details of the services and product. But eventually, later we know about this in the last 1 year. And right now, the pitch is simple, very much simple. That we are providing a call center solution, but over the cloud. As simple, which is easy to understand. But yes, obviously, you can tell after in certain lines if they ask. So that's the investor pitch. For the selling pitch, if you like to know, then I can say that there is no pitch at all from our side. We simply analyze what is the problem of our company, and we fix the meeting. We'll sit with the senior guy, and we will just tell them this is your problem, and we have the solution. Are you ready to listen? That's it. Otherwise, nobody is interested to get some information about your company or how you started with the interview or something. If you have the solution, just sell it, otherwise not. That's it. This is the practical, the market sense.
I think that's very well quoted, that the other side always want to know what is the solution, what are the pains you are solving, not the details or the story behind them. So you need to be very precise and quick in just explaining that, because you just have few seconds to retain that attention, like few minutes, I must say, to retain that attention and get that go through that pitch. Any more questions from anyone?
I have
Yeah.
to go to a little question. I'm audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
So, startup. The idea, first of all, the idea gets into your brain. Then, maybe you start working on that idea, start connecting with people, start creating a team. So, till the time the idea is there, then you start pitching for selling or for investors pitch. Then luckily you get some funding, seed funding, then obviously that venture capitalist also. So right from that idea till that VC wala stage, okay, how the journey looks like, because it's a one man army. I think when the idea gets in, maybe 2 people, 3 people. So we call it as a term CEO, Chief Executive Officer, or I say as a I read somewhere Chief Everything Officer. Okay. In a startup, you are a CEO, right? Now opposite to you, you're the chief executive officer or chief everything officer, right? From taking a printout from the printer, pitching to investors, VC. So how the journey look?
Sure. I'm sure the journey is pretty unique to people, and I guess my answer will be slightly different because there'll be different instances. But I believe today, when people who are pretty aware of the startup scene, when they think about starting up, giving up their jobs if they're working somewhere, it looks pretty overwhelming. As you said, there are n number of things which you could list down right away, and I'm sure if you think for 15-20 minutes, you'll be able to double the list. So it looks pretty overwhelming if you look at it in the complete sense. But when we were starting up, we we didn't know all these things were expected out of us. So in that sense, we just got into the process and we started exploring things. And for us, it was like, okay, commitment kar diya hai, so we'll go ahead with it. And we went ahead for years and years, and then we got to know all these things. But today, I believe since the audience is pretty aware of things and how startups are built, and there's a lot of content out there. Shark Tank is here in India now. People are aware of how pitching happens and things like that. So still, it would be slightly overwhelming, but the first step that you take, the decision that you take to start up and to maybe sit with a team or discuss a few ideas, I think that is the most crucial step, because I've had friends who've been talking about startups and who've really been keen on leaving their jobs and starting up, but they've not been able to do that. So the first step, I believe, is the most crucial one. And once you commit towards something, then you let a few opportunities go by because you've taken a call. At that point, it's like you don't really have a lot of backups, and then you somehow figure things out. So I think that's the first step, and then things get sorted later on. Gotcha.
So, okay. So let me tell you about first about the idea. So when we started, you can say you all know that for every businessman, one idea is kind of a business is kind of your baby. And when I started, I literally have only 15,000 rupees in my pocket and a cute daughter in my hand, that 2 days old only. And at that time, I thought that I have two babies now. One is in my hand and one is the business. So I have to feed both of them in different circumstances. I have to educate them how to walk, how to sit, how to go slow. Again, you have to put a stay back in certain situation. And yes, it's quite fun to once you see your business or your daughter in running a marathon actually. So this is the first thing which is unexplainable basically, or idea to making a mature business. And like I said that we are a booster company. So yes, I do not have the exposure what VC want. But yes, we have all the 5-year projection. We are pretty much clear about how we can penetrate a market in India and internationally. We even selling our service on international level, whether it's China, Singapore, Malaysia, and until March we are opening a branch in Singapore as well. And yes, it's a roller coaster ride, and every day is a quite fun thing. And like even if, before this event, I have so many works which I need to do, and after this event, I have to mail so many things. Even in the late night, I have to work from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. just to make a strategy or tie up with different organizations, sending a mail to, or you can say, for example, let me give you an example of Misho. So I found yesterday the missing gap where government is coming up with this online selling rule where all the selling company sellers have to buy a 24/7 virtual number. And just give you an example. So Misho is now brand, right? And only 1 lakh plus businesses are there. But if you log in the platform, there's no helpline number for all the registered businesses. There's only a name actually. So I am thinking to get the Misho so that I can sit with the owner. I can tell them that please use my services, sell all the 1 lakh businesses with bundled services as a valued services, and show them this is necessary because of government rule, and that's it. So think that there's a 1 lakh plus businesses, and if they are ready with that, they will earn money, and I will get a 50,000 businesses in my hand. So journey is, you can say, it's all about in mind actually. So you have to be sharp, smart, risk taker, believer on your value or your dedication. You have to listen all the positive vibes. You have to close your ears if something is giving you wrong vibes, or don't think that they don't allow anyone to devalue your product or business. Yes, the positive things are accepted. The flexibility should be there, but yes, you have to focus on your goal. So, it's unexpected, but yes, I am just trying to tell you that what is the life of idea to virtual company.
Thanks, Anirudh and Kaushal. Consistency and hard work through this long journey is the gist to it. So there's a question from the audience in the chat box. The question is asked by Jigisha. What primarily keeps you motivated to your startup going? Do you have time for your personal goals as well? She's another question, again, the follow-up question. Have you ever thought of an exit strategy in the worst case?
So regarding the motivation part and the personal life. So like I told you that you have to choose the business which you are more keen to, you are in interest actually. So my interest is into use the tech product and learn the product. Like for example, right now I have 80 plus, literally 80 plus different softwares around the world, whether it's an AI content writer, whether AI generator, whether it's for automation or everything. Just for fun, I purchase the software on the lifetime deal and I'm using that. And that's why, like, and still I am using these solutions to my product as well. So that's my motivation strategy. My favorite pastime is to learn new products actually. So you can ask anything about different technologies, or what is the product which you can build. If you're thinking or you want a suggestion, I'm the right person for you. I have the list of the product which I can suggest what is the gap market or what is the product you can build on global level, right? So this is the motivation level basically. And regarding the exit strategy, so far, which preferably right now I'm seeing IPO actually, which is I guess 3 years back only it's come under one small IPO term, where if you are turnover of 3 crore or something, you can start launching your IPO. But right now we are thinking to acquire or merge by some bigger CRM platform like Zoho, Freshdesk actually. And the third one is, yes, the international cloud delivery market is also approaching to us for the acquisition, and like for example, Zoom have acquired a different company in $40 billion, right? So because there is a huge space in the market. So yes, this is also depends on different situation. Right now, yes, we are not ready to sell ourselves. Yes, we need some since last year we need some fund just to penetrate in the Indian market. so that we increase our valuation, our revenue, and capture the market, and then we can think about the merger acquisition and our.
I think Jigisha also wants to know what was your difficult time when you thought that should exit or leave this business. Is that challenging situation ever happened?
No. There's nothing like that. Like I told you, in the last year, we were into a sustainable mode where we fired all the 5 branches, or you can say close all the branches and the remote teams, and we are into sustaining mode, or you can say at par actually. And at that time, even at that time, we thought to whether we have two options, like I told you earlier, that whether we look forward or look forward or look downside. But still, we thought to जब शुरू किया है तो either इस पार या उस पार.
That's amazing. So the commitment to do and finish or do things successfully. Change your way, but don't change your destination. You can change, pivot, stop, relax, think again, move again, change again, but don't forget your focus. That's a jest I think Kaushik wants to
Even
get.
like I'm 35 years old, and even my business is closed for some reason, then it's okay because I have the knowledge or the sense. I can build any other product with any other industry in a 1 year, and I can reach to 5 crore, 10 crore, even faster than the previous one. So it's all about the knowledge. Like either you start from 40 years old or you start from 20 years if you're 20 years old person. It's about how much knowledge you have, how much skill you have, or how much you have the risk-taking capability, or you can say capability risk-taking capability, and that's it.
Great. So Anirudh, the same question goes to you.
Could you please repeat the question?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you've touched a lot of different points.
Just a minute, I'll just repeat that question. So she wants to know what primarily keeps you motivated to do your startup, and do you have time for your personal goals as well? The second questions were, have you ever thought of an exit strategy in the worst case,
Sure.
leave your business?
Sure. So what keeps me motivated? I guess I've been pretty lucky in terms of having my personal goals aligned with the startup goals. So I genuinely want my startups to succeed. So that's something I know might sound stupid. Any startup founder would want to succeed, but so my passion or my pastime activities would be working on the business. So sometimes I have to stop myself from working at odd hours because my team is leaving and I'm still spamming them. So in that sense, working on my startup, I don't think I really feel demotivated. I've spent 5+ years working in a similar fashion, so that is kind of more of a muscle memory now. So I don't really need external motivation for getting back to work. The next part was.
Did you ever thought of exiting your startup?
Exit. So the exit strategy, I'll maybe take a different route to this question. After spending all these years into the startup scene, I've been exposed to this idea of exiting in a positive sense. A good exit strategy for a startup is a good sign for raising investments also, because that is in that sense it is a growth in that sense, because you're working on, let us say, just one thing, and then you get acquired by a bigger company, and then that completes the solution for that company, and then the users are still able to access that solution. So a good exit strategy is also welcomed by investors. So in our case, for my era, I would say it is slightly too early for us to comment that whether we are focusing towards the exit or we're working towards just scaling things up and not being open to exits. But just after 6 months of incorporation, I can say that my era is in a space wherein it can be acquired by bigger companies like Canva if they choose to maybe dive into the space, or Adobe, or different companies. And at that point, we can be open to that. So while pitching also, we do acknowledge the fact that we are in a space wherein maybe these bigger giants are not focusing right now. And maybe at some point, if we scale up and we make these companies uncomfortable, they would want to enter this space. They can do that. So at that point of time, it would be easier for them to acquire us. And in that sense, we can be open to that.
Thank you, Anirudh. I think I'll just sum up what Kaushal and Anirudh wants to express. That work-life balance is very important. Be you running a business of your own, or you are in the corporate doing some job, or you are sitting at home and doing your household work. This is especially for the homemakers. You need to have your own time, otherwise your mind will be too clocked to like too much into work and might not be that creative and motivated enough to go to the next step. And for their motivation to run a startup, with my conversation with other startup founders, it's a vicious circle. It's like you're running a marathon when you, or you can say, you crossed a post and then you realize, oh, I succeeded. That gives you the motivation to the next level. Even a failure is another kind of motivation, that this failed, let me try again. What could be the solution to this? That's another motivation to move ahead and resolve that again. So their stories definitely show you that everything is like startup people say what motivated them or how do they capture the failure. But your commitment to do a certain thing is very important, and all that is it's around that motivation, your balance to life and everything. That's very important. I think today's conversation definitely highlighted that being a startup is not easy, but not a difficult task. You just need to be very focused, motivated, and sorted out, well planned. If you're looking into that journey, please plan ahead. Do listen to people outside as a feedback, review experiences, what these startup case studies or journeys have shared. Relate to yourself, carve out a good roadmap, what you want to do next. Doing a job and coming back to the startup is not a bad idea. It's not a necessary thing that you drop out and just don't work somewhere and you will be a successful star. So everything works till you want to do it. So just try to, and this is what the balance is all about. Families do play an important role, but there are times when your families will not be at your side, but convince them. So after a while, everyone is your side if you are able to prove yourself. So do not deter from the risk-taking capability, but because the higher the risk, but a calculative risk. I am not saying that you jump into something without, so planning is very important. And one day you will definitely succeed. I think with this, we can end the session. Thank you very much, Anirudh, for being part of this. Thank you, Kaushal, so for sparing this time out and sharing your journey and ideas with the students and everyone here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.